Welcome back. This is the next video of the .NET series. Here I am starting the ASP.NET Core MVC. It is really in high demand and you should know about the ASP.NET Core. So we will see what is ASP.NET Core MVC. But before moving to ASP.NET Core MVC, let's try to understand the ASP.NET Core. ASP.NET Core is the open source version of ASP.NET and a web framework to build apps, IoT apps and mobile backends on the top of the .NET Core and .NET framework. The main advantage of the ASP.NET Core, you can run on Windows, Linux, macOS and even on Docker. As this is the open source, so you can take the advantage of cross-platform. Here you can see ASP.NET Core MVC, that is the framework. So you can see in this diagram ASP.NET Core MVC we have. So what is the ASP.NET Core MVC? The ASP.NET Core MVC framework is a lightweight, open source, highly testable presentation framework optimized for use with ASP.NET Core. So here we are using with the ASP.NET Core. So here only the extra thing is the MVC. So first we need to understand what is the MVC. MVC is model view controller. That is the architectural pattern separates an application into three main groups of components: models, views and controllers. This pattern helps to achieve separation of concerns. Means your application is divided up into three different groups: model, view, controller. Here in the diagram if you see model, view and controller. But let me show in the application. Let's create an application into ASP.NET. Create a project and I will type MVC. So I'm telling you how you can create an ASP.NET Core web app MVC. So I will choose this one, ASP.NET Core web app model view controller. So that is the template that you need to select. Click on next, give the name like learn MVC ASP.NET Core MVC. Click on next. You don't need to HTTPS, that I'm just explaining you on the local. Even you can use the Docker. Click on next. Then your application would be created. So that is the default template, and the important thing here, you can see three different folders: model, view and controllers. So let me show you what is the controller. So I have just aligned up with the related folders. Model is model, view and controller. So you can see both the view and controllers. View and controllers depend on the model, and model depends on neither the view nor the controller. So this is one of the key benefit of the separation. So this separation allows the model to build and tested independent of the visual presentation. The model classes represent domain specific data and business logic in the MVC application. It represents the shape of the data as public properties and business logic as methods. Here you can see we have the property in the class. So this is the model. So all this data can be passed to the view and we can render into the view. Here you can see the view, like this is the object I am passing into the view, and I can render the property here like customer name, email, mobile. So therefore we can put into the view. So views are responsible for presenting content through the user interface. They use the Razor View engine to embed .NET code in HTML markup. There should be minimal logic within views. And controller, if you see, whatever the requests come from the user first come to the controller. So controllers are the components that handle user interaction, work with the model and ultimately select a view to render. Here controller will handle the request and work with the model with the appropriate business logic, and controller will pass this data to the view. Here in the diagram you can see request will come to the controller first through the pipeline. As this is the ASP.NET Core MVC, as this is the .NET Core, so here the concept of the pipeline will come in the picture. You can see my previous video where I have explained you about the pipeline. So here the request will go to the controller and controller will generate the model and will pass to the view. Here the business logic can fetch the data from the database and create the model. This model will be used to render on the view. But in the MVC pattern, where is the business logic? Where you have to put the business logic? So in the ideal scenario, business logic should not go in your model's view and controllers. There should be a separate business logic layer. It should only be consumed by your controller actions. Sometime you can create separate folder like logic or business logic something. I hope the concept is clear about the ASP.NET Core MVC. We will continue the ASP.NET Core MVC in the next video. That's all in this video. I'll see you soon in the next video. Till then, happy learning.